recording. Good old faithful Alistair, and here we are again, reunited at this table. What was that?
I was just calling him a silly man. Still with this tea thing.
There.
Like, Alistair, are you sure I can't, I don't know, get you like a whiskey or something, some mead, anything? Does it still have to be tea? Thing? Oh. Hello?
What just happened? That was interesting.
Did I disappear and then reappear? I think Skitty was... You know what? I think Skitty was practicing some magic earlier. That's what happened. And as a result, sometimes if I pop out, I might pop back in, possibly. I was worried about that when Skitty was practicing her magic, but it's totally fine. We'll get through it. Anyway, Alistair, can you stop doing the pinky thing? You know, the raising the pinky while you're drinking. Look, we're in a tavern. We're not sophisticated over here. We tell stories and we're rapscallions and whatever. And welcome to the TBD Tavern.
If I fling my, I was picking my nose. If I was a booger just kind of went into my ale, it should be still good, right? Should be fine.
Yeah. Should be good. Should be good. Yeah.
That's how classy we are, guys. And Alistair over here is trying to drink tea with a little pinky up.
Look, the man is wearing...
Bears have pinkies? How? This is so weird to look at. It's so weird to look at a bear with a little pinky.
Okay,
I didn't even know bears had pinkies.
But we're suspending our disbelief at the fact that he's wearing a top hat, a monocle, and a full-ass suit. Like one of those ones with like the tails at the back, like you see in old movies like Gone with the Wind and everything. This man is fully decked out in a bar where I'm wearing a cloak with cat ears on it. Come on, man. Come on. You don't need to show us up or anything. You're Alistair. Just hanging out.
I've been wearing the same underwear for the last 3 days. And this guy over here is, all decked out.
Yeah. He looks like he's had it pressed. He took it to the dry cleaners. I didn't even know dry cleaners exist during this time. Buddy, you're too proper for this place.
Okay, I think we've ravaged poor Alistair enough. I think he's starting to cry. I think I saw a little tear coming out of his monocle. His monocle fogged up.
Alistair, you're fine. You're cool. You're great. You're wonderful. You sit here and you listen to us ramble for over an hour on average. We appreciate you. We do. We totally appreciate you.
But anyway, welcome to the tavern.
Yeah. Welcome back to the tavern, everybody. I hope you grab your pints. Make sure you have the money to pay your tabs. Thank you. And we are.
I've been doing better about that, guys. Good job.
A little clap.
Thank you. Good job, guys. I'm paying your tabs finally. We were starting to get tired on chasing you guys, then paying Skitty. But I'm glad that you guys are doing it now. Good job. Thank you for being just for paying for stuff because you're drinking it. I mean, come on. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Amber.
No, I was just gonna say, we can finally get food for the tavern now that debts have been paid.
Yeah.
We're not just giving you enchanted water to make you think you're eating soup.
Yeah.
You get to actually enjoy soup.
Wow. They weren't supposed to know that.
Anyway, welcome.
Skitty said to not tell them that.
Sorry, Skitty. Welcome back. We are going to be talking about The Last of Us episode 4. We were midway through the episode when I had to leave abruptly. Pardon me for that. Skitty just decided to yeet me from existence for a hot minute, but it's fine. Totally fine. So, one thing I wanted to clarify, Silver, before we continue on, I was wrong. There was no radio with the guys who had ambushed Joel and Ellie. What I thought happened was actually their bodies were reported by another caravan that was coming in that Joel and Ellie had escaped just in the nick of time by leaving. So, just wanted to clarify that. There was no radio involved because I think that would have made it a little bit more wonky. And I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have led to the next scene that you and I had just started talking about, which was Kathleen interrogating the doctor who was a Fedra rat. So you were correct in that as well. He actually would provide intel to Fedra on people who opposed Fedra's rule. So there's another thing.
That's what they were. Got it. Got it. They're
Yeah.
not necessarily fireflies, just
Mm.
random randos.
Yeah, I think it was a situation, from what I can surmise, where Fedra was super corrupt in this area, and people were trying to rebel because they believed that the people should govern the people. And this dude was one of those people, be like, "Hey, yo, my neighbor over here, they were talking shit about you, Fedra. You should go take care of them." And he did that to protect himself because, as he put it, they were putting a gun to his head. And unfortunately, one of the people, it wasn't his victim, but somebody else's person that ratted him out was Kathleen's brother, who was beat to death in the same cell that the doctor was in. And she's trying to find that guy to basically get
Yeah.
revenge. So that's why she's looking for Henry, was because Henry ratted out her brother. And that's why she's pissed off, because she believes that the doctor knows where he is. And the truth is, we don't know if he does or doesn't, but he's trying to convince her that he doesn't know where Henry is.
Yeah, and I don't think we will ever know, because it doesn't end too well for him. After she finds that, the bodies of her people, it seems to tick her off, just kind of pushes her just about right, to eventually put a bullet right in between the I'm going to assume right between the eyes. We didn't really get to see. We assume he got a bullet to the head because the room got really quiet. But,
oh yeah. Well, and I believe, if I remember correctly, she was just so fed up because she was worried that Joel and Ellie, the ones who had murdered the 3 people that were laying there, one of them was still alive but in critical condition. They told her that he wasn't going to live. They believed that Joel and Ellie could be mercenaries that were hired by Henry and Sam. So she was just like, you know what? No, I'm about to put an end to this. I am tired of this shit. So she just walked up, told the guard to open up the cell, just took out the gun, didn't even think twice, put a bullet between his eyes, and then just walked off like it was nothing. That guard, I don't know if you noticed it, he flinched so hard, and he had that look of like, "Are you for real?" to her, because he just was not prepared to see her casually just pull a gun out and shoot the man and just walk away like it was nothing. Like that was wild.
Yeah. Don't mess with her. Don't put her in a bad mood. She definitely wasn't messing around.
No.
But
I will say,
it
though,
looks like she's got a lot of things going on in her head. Anyways, what's up?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I was going to tell you was a fun fact about that scene, though, where they were talking about the mercenaries. The guy that tells her that he believes it's mercenaries, I believe he had a white beard, long hair, kind of decked out like mercenary gear himself. The character's name was Perry. That was the actual voice actor for Tommy in the video game. So it was really cool to see that and to hear that voice and be like, I know that voice. And then to confirm that it was Tommy from The Last of Us. So it's kind of cool to see the voice actors from the video game being put in these little spots to where, like, if you hear it and if you know the game, you're
little
just like,
Easter eggs.
So dope. Yeah. So it was kind of cool to catch that. He's a great character.
You know, guys.
Yeah. So just wanted to throw that out there as well. That was a fun Easter egg to see.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. And what's not very cool right now is that Ellie and Joel are trying to hide and run for their lives, because it looks like Cranky Lady is very angry and she just mobilized her entire troops throughout the entire city. She just starts breaking in to every house, right? Throughout
Pretty
that
much.
entire perimeter to try and find them.
So they are basically now, they just call them conspirators. That's it. Everybody's a Henry conspirator. She wants them to knock down every door, take people out, force people to talk to find Henry. And Joel and Ellie are hiding in this bar across the street, watching this happen in real time. And basically Ellie sees that there's a tall building, and that's where they both recognize this where they need to go next. But as Joel tells her, they need to wait until they don't hear any more trucks so they can be safe, because in this situation, it doesn't matter how OP Joel and Ellie could be, like in the video game, you're not going to survive if you got people decked out in like Kevlar armor with semi-autos and a freaking like tanks and stuff ready to take you down.
Yeah, they have a lot of equipment for
Yeah.
sure, for sure, for sure. And the other good thing about them having this sort of like, I mean, finding this little like spot where they can hide is that they start going back to that whole bonding that we were talking on the last episode, right? You know, he obviously is trying to make her feel better because he sees that it did take a toll on her after shooting the kid. But I think she's, you know, again, dealing with it as best as possible. Again, she's not over it, but you know, she's dealing with it with her in her own way. And then I think it also turns into a teaching moment, right? Because I think he hands her the gun, you know, and which again, more of Joel opening up, you know, lowering those barriers and trusting her with being able to have his back now in a way, you know, because she clearly did. She had his back when he was pinned down. So I guess, yeah.
Well, one of the things I think is very important for this episode, right, is this is an episode that clearly shows the transition from when Ellie becomes quote unquote just cargo to him to really more. And we've emphasized the bond between the two and the connection that forms. And in this moment, we're kind of seeing that Joel is holding on to a lot of what the world used to be like, which is a kid shouldn't have to worry about shooting someone and facing the consequences. A kid should be able to retain that innocence that we expect kids to have, where they don't have to weigh what it means to put a bullet into somebody and then see them struggle because of missing a kill shot or something. Like, no kid should have to grapple with the possibility of having to murder someone to protect someone that they love. Now, I know that there are situations in reality that kids have had to likely do that, and I look, you know, it's something that is very rare but happens, I think. But in this situation for Joel, he has always wanted to be the protector. He has always been the one that protects those he loves and has always been the one that people rely on. So for him, he feels he failed Ellie because she had to kill someone to protect him. And he's never wanted someone to protect him, especially that young, to where now they have to struggle with the pain of having to hurt someone or to basically kill someone. And he tries to vocalize that and communicate that, but because Joel has not really communicated in a long time, like we've seen as evidence with like Tess's death and with everything else, he doesn't know how to console Ellie, and it's both heart-wrenching but also warm to see him really wanting to empathize and care for Ellie. And her responding to that, realizing that he may not be good at it, but he's trying. And so one of my favorite moments is when he's trying to tell her that he understands what it means to hurt someone for the first time, but he doesn't know how to offer the solace. And he's just like, oh, I'm so bad at this. And she's just like, yeah, you really are.
Oh, yeah, you suck.
Yeah, but what makes it so heartfelt was after that, instead of trying to keep her being the innocent girl in his eyes that I feel like he's kind of kept her in, because even though she's crass and rebellious and all this other stuff, she's still a kid to him. So a kid is always going to be naive and young and inexperienced. He accepts that she's going to have to learn how to use a gun, like what you said. She might have to protect him at some point. So he teaches her how to actually hold a gun to where it's stable and she can keep her shot steadier and firmer than what she did. Because the style that she had was, you know, one hand in the air with the gun pointed and everything else.
Yeah.
He's teaching her, like, put one hand over the other, one thumb over the other, put pressure on that, only have your finger on the trigger when you're about to shoot, like gun safety, all this stuff. He's like, if I can't protect your innocence that I thought you had, then let me at least teach you how to be prepared to take care of yourself. And I thought that was a
Exactly.
very good moment because it shows, like you said, that bond that they now have. It's like you can't fool the viewer, nor can Joel fool himself that he cares about her in some capacity. Because if she was still cargo, then he wouldn't have taught her how to do that. So
Exactly.
it's a very good key point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you can see in her face, right? I mean, immediately cheering up and being like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Like he's starting to trust me. Like this feels great. Oh, I have my own gun, and you kind of see still kind of like that, like childish expression that
Mm-hmm.
she has of like, hell yeah, I'm getting a gun. Um, But I found it interesting too, though, that she tries to put it away like in her back pocket, and he's like, "Don't do that. You're gonna shoot your ass, right?" And put it in your bag. And she motions that she's gonna put it in her bag, but she still doesn't listen all the way.
Yep.
She's still kind of like in her own like own personality, still puts it in like her side pocket, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I don't know what that means yet. I don't know if that means don't tell me what to do, or I think I know more than you. I don't know, or maybe that's just part of her personality. I really don't know how to take that. What do you think on
I
that one?
honestly just think it's the whole idea of her still being a rebellious teenager. Like, obviously,
Hmm.
she's been taught how to properly handle a gun, and obviously, she respects Joel and she feels safe with him to trust him because we have what we see now as a mutual trust between one another. But for her, she's like, why would I put it in my pack? Obvious, like that's gonna be a lot of time between trying to get the pack off, grabbing the gun, shooting someone versus putting it at least in like the pocket. So I kind of saw it more as like rebelliousness, but then also more like practical in that situation. Like I get what you're saying. I don't want to shoot a chunk of my ass cheek off by putting it in my back pocket, but at least I could put it in this side pocket to where it's easier to grab quicker rather than trying to take my pack off and hope I can get the gun in time. So that's how
Right?
I
Because
saw
what
it
if I
was,
lose the bag?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially like what if she loses the bag? Because if you think about it, the minute she loses that bag, the gun's gone.
it's over.
So
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah. Good point. Good point.
yeah. And then after
Um,
that, it went back to Kathleen and Perry because they found the crawl space for Henry and then his brother Sam, right? That was the next part?
yes,
Or yes.
correct. They find the site and everything that went down, and they just start looking around because I think Perry's kind of like showing her. Um, I think where the laundromat was. I don't know what he is showing her. I thought I wrote that down here, but I don't know where he
It's all
takes her. I
good.
just remember that they do like a sweep of the laundromat.
So they went to the laundromat. He showed her the truck and the rations to let her know, to show why they thought it might be a mercenary, because it was trying to show how they had enough rations, but they weren't sure if they were part of like Henry's conspirators or not. And then after that, they went to where they found where Henry and Sam had been hiding, which was this attic. And
Oh,
it's,
that's right.
yeah,
Right, right,
yeah.
right. Where they finds all the drawing and everything that
Mhm.
the kid had been doing on the writing on the wall and stuff. And
Yeah.
you can clearly see that they had been eating there too and sleeping.
Yeah, which meant that they were able to steal rations from this group. They've been under their nose the whole time. And you can tell Kathleen's just like, how the hell did we miss this? Because it's like they've literally been here this whole time watching us and keeping an eye on us, but we've never found them. So there was definitely that moment of like Kathleen being pissed off and as much at the situation as herself for not recognizing how obvious it was.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I think there was one more thing that Perry shows her, which is like in the storage room where there's that rubble and there's rumbling and you see things moving. And I don't know about you, Silver, but that would have made me go, no, we need to deal with this now more than the Henry thing. Because you remember how bad that was? Like, why did she completely tell him not to worry about it?
I think because she just, she's just too caught up with everything else and catching up, catching the the people out there already after. And I mean, what are they gonna do? Like, if the ground starts moving out of nowhere, like, is it something that is caused by like degradation from the building, or what? Like, they can't really shoot the floor or do anything about it. So let's just focus on what they can do and fighting these other people. Unless did they have knowledge about what was under the ground?
See, I
I
felt
don't
like that
think
was what
so.
was in that. I felt like that was what was implied, that they had an idea of what it
Oh,
could be, because the way that like Perry
oh,
looked at her, kind of like, "Are you serious that we're not dealing with this right now?" Because I thought maybe I'm remembering this wrong, like I did with the whole radio when Joel and Ellie were leaving. But I thought they heard sounds, and it was an indication that like there was that something could break out from that underground. That's why
oh, like
it
the
was shaped like
gotcha.
that. Yeah. So that's why I thought it was wonky to me that she was just like, let's take care of the Henry situation now and just seal off this building. Because no offense, but no infected are going to be like, oh, it's been sealed off. Can't do anything about that. Gotta respect the rules. The building's completely closed off, everyone. Time to go find another
Um,
path.
all right, guys, go back in the hole. Back in the hole. Everything's closed. No, no, no. Sorry, Louis. No, Henry.
Right.
I'm sorry. I know you're hungry, and just let's go back into the hole. No, we can't. We
Greg,
can't do
we
it.
talked about this. We talked about this. If we see the yellow tape, we can't go past it. Not you, Bob. Not you. Like,
Oh, not you, Bob. You're missing eyes. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. You lost your eyes, didn't you? Okay. Well, just we're not gonna do it, guys. Go back into the hole.
yeah.
I guess you're right. I guess they did sort of know. I just what I wrote for myself was that there is a crack on the floor, and
Hmm.
they look very confused as to what it was. But
But
you
like
know,
I
you're
said,
right. They might know what's
it
going
might be
on.
a moment to interpretation. Honestly, that's what I'm gonna guess, and that's why we might have different interpretations.
But like, was it? Well, no, we'll move on.
No. You know what?
The
Hmm.
what's up? No, tell me right
I was
now.
just joking, be like,
While
I'm
I
gonna
go get
look.
an ale. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go look real quick, and then I will let you know. But keep going.
Gonna
You
go
got
look
this.
really quick. No, what I was just going to say was that moving along the story, we still have kind of like Joel and Ellie trying to just kind of find somewhere safe where they don't feel like they have to be consistently running for their lives because they know they have this entire little tiny militia just going after them.
Hmm.
I believe they found a room. I think Joel is very tired. Oh yeah, that's right. Because he was going up. They went up the stairs. That's right. I was like, what? Joel is very tired. I swear, I need to get better in my notes. They go up a bunch of stairs, right? And that's why he's just like
Hmm.
dying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna add that they were talking about going up, I believe, 45 stories because that's how high they had to go up.
That's
And then,
why. That's why.
yeah,
Okay.
but then Joel
Yeah.
was like, "No, we'll go as far as I can go," and so we're getting these shots of like Joel having a hard time going up the more they go, and Ellie's just kind of like chilling in the back. But what's important about this sequence is Ellie asks Joel a very, I think, important question that tells you a lot about why he's so worried about Ellie having to do what she did. Because she asks him a question, from what I remember, she asks him how he knew it was an ambush, right? And he tells her that he's been on both sides. And and then that's when Ellie's like, oh, you and Tess, and he's like, and Tommy too. And then she asks him the question of if he's ever killed innocent people, which I don't think Joel has ever thought about at all throughout the time that he's been, or like maybe he had before when he first did it, and he taught himself to just not care anymore. Because we talked about how Joel kind of was living to survive, not really for anything else. And so I think in that moment, it's interesting because you see this moment where Joel clearly gives you an answer. He shows it, and this is why I love Bobby Pascal. One of the many reasons why is you can see in his face what the answer is. We don't need it to be vocalized. We don't need to hear him confirm it. We don't need to have him say yes or try to explain or justify what his reasoning is. But we know it's yes. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because in this world, you don't really know who's innocent and who's not. And there's probably moments where Joel has had to make a calculated decision where a person looked like they may be coming at him or they may be part of something, and maybe he's accidentally killed someone that was innocent to where they weren't doing anything or they weren't trying to hurt him, but he's done it. Blood has been on his hands. You could even go so far as to say that we've literally watched him burn the body of somebody who was innocent with the little kid who he had to carry in his hands to put in the burning pile in episode 1. So we know no matter what, in some capacity or another, Joel has. But his silence is enough for him to let Ellie know that clearly Joel has done it, but he is aware of, but it does eat at him in some capacity. Because him having to admit that to her, I think, creates a morality question of, is he really a good person is he really a good person? And especially for being there for Ellie. That's what I got from it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of conflicting things that you can see in his face. And again, to praise Papi Pascal and his acting, you can clearly see the thoughts just kind of like firing left and right in his face, like, oh shit, that's a good question, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, again, he's always gone through the motions. He's never really had to sit down a moment and think, you know, am I a good person? Am I a bad person?
Yeah.
Did I kill innocents? Did I not kill the innocent? And like you said, he's had to always, and like we've said from the beginning of the podcast, he's had to make calculated decisions again and again, because in this type of world, if you don't, you're basically risking the possibility of somebody else screwing you over, because it's gonna happen. Sadly, humankind is always going to be out to help itself out, you know, not the rest. Not to say that every single one of us is bad, but I will say that, you know, when hunger and sleep and thirst become a thing, you know, everybody turns into something different, man. You know?
Yeah.
So it's nothing that I don't think anybody should go through, but nothing that we can all escape. I guess we all just kind of go back to we regress to our most basic thing, and that is to survive, no matter what that means.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind me interjecting one more time, I think.
How dare you? No, go ahead.
I think what's also interesting is the question itself. Not to get too over analytical, but I think in this world, there's never really been a reason to question if people are innocent or not. Because in this world, it's about, like you pointed out, humanity is about surviving and self-preservation. So people are just going to do whatever it takes to protect themselves. And in this situation, I think for Joel, there's never really been a need to question if people are innocent or not. Because maybe even in those situations, whether they haven't done anything, whether they haven't done anything that we can subjectively say is guilty or wrong or bad or whatever, in those situations, likely the innocence doesn't matter so much as survival. So I think in this moment, you have Joel also recognizing how much he has had to change in a world that has forced him to change. And in a world where relationships are so necessary, how in a way that mindset of what's innocent and what not kind of is a part of that relationship. What's good and evil are ways of those abstract thoughts being the way that we apply towards people. And to back it up even further, with the way that Joel wanted to protect Ellie's innocence in not having her have a gun and to make those decisions, I thought that was even more interesting to show that, like, in this world, innocence, I don't know, really applies as much as Joel wants it to, because he's never really had to, like you said, think about that with any
It,
situation.
and sorry to interrupt you, but it's just basically, feelings are a commodity. If you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, it's a commodity that only those who are actually genuinely safe, have food and a place to sleep, can actually sit down and
Mm-hmm.
ponder on about, right?
Yeah,
And it's a commodity that just does not exist in this world. He does
yeah,
not have the commodity to say, this was good, this was bad, was this the best decision I could have done? It's just kind of like, okay, I made it through, I'm here, there's food, everything's good, and
yeah.
that's about it, and move on.
And the last thing I want to say before we get towards the end is this: we can just say that what morality and perspective is subjective, right?
Yes.
And there are situations where people have done what they think is right, but would look morally wrong in other situations. For
Yeah.
example, like you think of Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, where Jean Valjean, for example, is a character who stole a piece of bread to feed his like his niece. And what happens is he gets jailed for stealing bread. Now, in the same breath, he escapes from prison and tries to hide in like the home of a priest. And the priest offers him lodging, he offers him food, he offers everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he starts stealing the silver to try to restart his life, the pastor basically forgives him and says, "I give him this." And it's a show of good faith, as well as showing that he believes that Jean Valjean is a good man who is stuck in hard times. So I think even then, to add more to this whole discussion on innocence and commodity when it comes to feelings and all that, to tackle on even further, who's really innocent in the world of The Last of Us? Who's really good in the world of The Last of Us? I think that's the point that we also have to look at with Joel and Ellie and everybody else is there's really nobody that's necessarily
Yeah.
good at all. Everyone's had to do something that might be considered evil in the eyes of others or bad just to survive. So, not to keep harping on this innocent discussion, but I thought that,
No, no,
yeah,
it's a good one, because I think that in a way they're all, everybody in this world, everybody is is both,
yes,
because for example, children, right? Children, if you give them a lollipop, right, they're like, candy, nom 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 nom. But if there's another kid that sees the other kid with the lollipop, says, hey, I want that lollipop, right, what's going to happen? That kid's going to fight that other kid for the lollipop. But it's not necessarily that the kid is bad, and it's just children have like this sort of like, in innocence doesn't always mean, I guess we're used to thinking that innocence is people who don't know about being evil, but it's not that that kid's being necessarily evil or bad. It's just that they have that sort of a no knowledge of wanting something, and the they don't know that it's bad to steal. They don't know that it's bad that you shouldn't share. That they don't have that sort of that sort of knowledge. So that, I guess, that is innocent. So in this world, because nobody knows what's going to happen next, and everybody's just trying to survive, I think you could argue that everybody in this world is innocent in a way, because they got thrown into this world where we no longer have those sort of commodities and rules that society used to keep us all protected.
interesting.
Now it's just now it's just now it's just living. Now it's just
Yeah.
live, no matter what that means. So I don't know. I like to think that it could be argued that everybody is innocent, and at the same time
Which
not.
is interesting considering the other episodes that we go along for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think in the end, I think everybody that we see in this show thinks they're the good person no matter what. So maybe not necessarily that
Yeah.
they're innocent, but everybody in some way is good or has good intentions. So like Kathleen, for example, yeah, she wants to get back at the people who hurt her brother or who basically sentenced her
Mm-hmm.
brother to death. But she's also really trying to protect this community and trying to really keep them unified to where she thinks she's doing what's best for them and being the good
Yeah.
person by trying to teach them to protect themselves. So like make sure nobody can reach out to Fedra to where they have to be under tyrannical rule again and all this other stuff, which leads into the whole other discussion of revolutions and how why they end up failing is, well, some do fail is because they don't think of what's next, like what to do once you get that power. But that's a whole other conversation. But if you think about Kathleen and in her perspective and in the world around her and the community around her, you could argue that she's a good person or trying to be a good person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Would you think that Kaze, sorry, your cat's Kaze?
Yeah, Kaze.
So would you call Kaze evil for finding a mouse around the tavern and killing it and eating it, or it just being nature, just and he's just an innocent cat that is doing what a cat
Interesting.
does?
I
So I
I
feel
feel
like this is the world they're living in now.
yeah, so one thing I would argue is that I feel like animals are amoral, honestly. So in the world, so I guess what we should boil it down to, right, is good, bad, evil, all that stuff is really from a human perspective, I think. And I think animals themselves don't have that same moral compass as we do. I think
Mm.
they are, if it comes to hunting, for example, they're not going to worry about what they're doing because that's, I think, a nature thing to where they're going to feed their kids. That's their priority. So, I get the argument. I do think that's more of an amoral thing versus what we do, but I also
Just
that
saying,
just that
Joel is
gets into
trying
the
to
yeah,
protect Ellie.
that's
Same
true.
way.
But I get what you're saying. I think in this world, I guess if I were to put it into something, I wouldn't argue that Kaze is being evil. I think I don't know. It's hard, but I get
Just
what you're
Kaz is
saying, and
just playing its role. Kaz is
yeah,
just playing its role, man. We all have a role to play, and uh, I don't know. The role right now is for them to survive, and he's trying to protect
Mhm.
Ellie because there's so many things that she means to him now.
Yeah,
He's starting to get that kind of like, again, like I said, that glimmer in his eye again. Maybe because she represents so many things to him. It
Mhm.
represents Tess. It represents uh,
Yeah,
to a point duty, which was used to be important to him. It represents a lost daughter, which he could not defend at a point in his life.
hmm
She represents so much to him, and he's starting to understand that. And
yeah.
again, she's no longer a package. She's just more than that.
And
But
that's easy to see when they get up to the 33rd floor and then they stop and Joel's like collapsed on the ground. And then Ellie's like, not bad, 33 floors. And then she's trying to get him up and he's like, I need a minute. And then she jokingly calls him a lazy ass. And as she helps him up, he looks at her and goes like, I'm 56, you little shit, or something like that.
little shit, yeah, yeah.
And it's great because it's such a moment where their guard is down so much. Like usually we see Joel uptight, kind of like a stick in his butt, watching everything, paying attention to every little detail. He's immediately looking around his surroundings, trying to keep track of what dangers could be around them because you never know in this world. But for some
Yep.
reason in this moment there's nothing. It's literally just them ribbing each other that clearly indicates that Ellie matters to him now.
Yeah, the more bonding. I think at some point she even notices, which I thought was kind of cool. She makes an observation of how he can't hear from his right side
Yes.
too well, right? Because he at some
Mhm.
point he says he's gonna go to sleep, and he starts cracking all that glass, right, so that they can hear if anybody sneaks up to them. And I think that's where she makes like the comment about his hearing.
Yeah.
So which is kind of cool, because in a way, she's been observing him, not just learning, right, not just trying to appeal
Yeah.
to him, but now at this point she's starting to pick up on his weaknesses to make up for them.
Yeah. Well, and in this moment too, I think what's interesting to tack that on, it's brought about because as he's setting up the glass on the floor because he's trying to set up an alarm, um, he asks her, what does it mean it wasn't her first time hurting people? Because now
Mm.
he remembered
Oh, yeah.
that, because that's a key thing to remember. She says it wasn't her first time in the bar having to shoot someone. She says she doesn't want to talk about it, and Joel, being like the dad that he is, does the whole like, it's cool, you don't have to tell me, and I'm not going to say this, but I'm here for if you want to talk. But what he stresses again, which is interesting to me, is how he still thinks, like, he thinks of her, if we argue that he now thinks of her like his daughter, right? He's thinking of her
Yep.
like the world before it ended. He keeps saying it isn't fair that she has to deal with it at her age. And I feel like it's safe to assume in this world, kids have to deal with this at any
Yeah.
age, because there's no safety anymore. There's no guarantee that a kid can grow up to have a life that we deem normal. So it's interesting that he keeps
Yeah.
arguing that she shouldn't have to deal with it at her age. But what shows Ellie's maturity is when she asks him, does it get easier as you get older? He says, not really, because let's face it, it never gets easy to kill somebody. It should never get easy to kill somebody. But
Right.
but for some reason that contradiction is there of like, but still you shouldn't have to deal with it at this age. Like, as if age matters when making the conscious choice to kill someone. So I thought that was a big part of that moment for me.
Yeah.
Is like that back and forth of like Joel being again honest with her about, oh, it never gets easier, but for some reason he's still dead set on her being so young and innocent, and she's like basically telling him, I'm not as innocent as you think I am, and that this world is not the innocent world you think it used to be. So,
And I think it's because he kind of restarts that pause of like, I think that old Joel, the dad, died years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like now, because he's dropped that guard down, that dad that he was back then is just restarted, but from like a time back then. I think is why we're seeing that.
Poppy Joel is coming back. Let's go.
Puppy Joel.
And so you brought up the thing where she brought up the observation. Sorry for interrupting. So yeah, she brings up that he can't hear from his right side, and then he tells her, you should stick to a knife as much as possible so you don't lose your hearing like I did. Which I think is interesting, because I think in the games, Ellie, typically they want you to opt for more stealth. So she goes more for like knifing rather than guns blazing. Unless if you're like me and I go, shoot everybody. You're really aiming more for like using the knife, and she'll say stuff like shh, like telling them to quiet as she gets them. But my favorite part is when he cracks the dad joke at the end. Do you remember the dad joke, Silver?
Something about diarrhea.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was.
Because diarrhea is hereditary, because it runs in the genes.
And he starts, he's like trying so hard not to laugh.
Yeah.
Like so hard. He's trying to still be like that kind of like serious Joel, but he just he starts giving in, and he just starts laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the walls are down, man. They're laughing it up. He's just trying so hard not to laugh. It's just funny. And she can't see his face, but she knows that he's trying not to laugh.
Yeah, and she calls him out too.
It's adorable. Yeah, it's adorable. It's a good way for them for it all to kind of like end before they pass out, just kind of like falling asleep and laughing and just having that bonding moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
Yep, which then leads into the next part that's unfortunate, where Ellie keeps calling for Joel, for someone who says gets told his right ear is bad, and he says he's listening for the alarm, he decides to keep his right ear up to where he should hear stuff, and
Yeah.
I thought that was a good detail by the producer, like the director, to have him sleep on his right side to show how they were able to sneak up, because that's when Ellie's going, Joel, and then you see Henry with the gun pointed at Ellie, and then Sam, the younger brother, having a gun pointed at Joel. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much how it ends, is them now being held hostage.
Yeah. And I think the other reason he also let his guard down is because he just felt safer with her too, I think, you know, like for example, when at least, yeah, and I think you experience the same thing with when you're with your significant other, but you tend to like loosen your guard about your surroundings, and I know that when Moose is right next to me, I sleep deeper. That's the truth.
Oh yeah.
I just like pass out. Well, if I'm on my own, most of the time I'm like I always have like I don't know, I'm somewhat alert. I'm not always all the way asleep. So I think again that just goes to show again that his guard is kind of down because he recognizes that she is learning, she's paying attention, she's growing. You know, so I think it's also why he kind of let his guard down, which obviously served against him in this situation.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but yeah, I don't think I have anything else other than
Yeah,
But overall,
it's fine.
it's a good episode. I think, I know we talk about how the series has been pretty consistent overall, but I do feel like episode 3 and 4 are where things really start to step up for The Last of Us. Just because we're really starting to see more of the message behind what The Last of Us wants us to see. We're seeing more of that connection. We're seeing more of this bond between Joel and Ellie, and we're getting what makes The Last of Us so special. What is the heart of it? Like episode 1 and 2 are great prologue episodes to show you where the world is and what's going on and where Joel was at. But this episode sticks out a lot to me for how tender it is in this, given the circumstances, and how we see Joel transform so much in the span of, I think, like a 45-minute episode if you take out the credits and recap and everything.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a short episode that has a lot that it unpacks a lot.
Yeah,
about them too and their relationship and where humanity is at. And I think that's only the pretty part because as you and I know, it starts getting ugly later on.
Oh man, yeah. This series doesn't relent after this episode.
No, it goes really hard. Humanity can be very, very cruel. Again, going back to once you start going into your baser instincts of survivability and what you need and the needs that you have, that your body has, people just are sometimes. I mean, at that point, they're not any different than animals, in my opinion. But go ahead.
Well, one other thing I want to say is I know we give a lot to Poppy Pascal, but can we just also give a shout out to Bella Ramsey? They are like killing it as Ellie. The facial expressions, the emotion, the delivery. Like, I don't want to just. I feel like I've only been giving a lot of kudos to Poppy Pascal, but in reality, it's a two-man dance in this situation. Well, rightfully so, but also I don't want to leave behind the fact that Bella Ramsey has been killing it as Ellie, and the way that you see the response and how organic and natural it feels between those two. It's one of those things where like the bond, I feel like outside of what's going on in the show is really seeping in, and it's beautiful work by them as well. Like they're so good as Ellie. And to all the haters out there and the detractors who wanted to say like Bella is not their Ellie, y'all can shut up. Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Bella
shut
has
it.
been great.
I mean, shut up.
And y'all can cry me a river about it, whatever. But yeah, I want to give Bella a lot of credit for that because I just feel like they deserve just as much credit as Poppy Pascal for really bringing it to the show every single episode.
Yeah, yeah. No, Bella definitely. They brought it. And like I was saying earlier, when they had that moment where they were exchanging, when he was teaching her how to, hold the gun and everything, just her expressions of like, oh, this is so cool. He's teaching me, and
Yeah.
like I can't believe he's finally like trusting me. Like her expressions were like on point. They're like really good. Like what's happening. Again, you're right. They're a dynamic duo, man. Where their expressions have been basically saying a lot of things that are
Mm-hmm.
not needed to be said. They keep having this sort of like conversation without having to say words, and what's happening, and it's crazy. Again, back to the whole how she's no longer a package, but and no longer just like another person, but also he's starting to see her as a partner,
Yeah.
because they're starting to now have that sort of like nonverbal communication that you start seeing in a lot of tag teams, right?
Yep.
Which is what they're starting to become, which
Yeah.
is good.
And that's just something I felt personally like I needed to say because I was just like thinking back on the last few episodes. It's like, oh dang, I've been seeing a lot about Bobby Pascal, but I don't highlight Bella Ramsey enough, especially in the moment when they have the discussion when she asked Joel, "Have you killed innocent people?" I found it really profound the way that she moves forward with him sidestepping it because clearly she wants the answer, but you see the moment that she clearly understands Joel to where it doesn't need to be said. And I
Yeah,
love that it's such a small moment, but it's so good. Or even in the moment when he asks her what she meant by her first time, and she doesn't answer, and the way that she carries that in the tone of her voice and in her face and in the way that she conveys it, like everything is just so well done. So that's just me wanting to hype up Bella as well. Not that Bella needs it.
yeah.
Bella
Great
is really,
acting, great
yeah.
acting, great acting. Definitely love it. Bella Ramsey has been definitely selling it. I don't like, again, I wasn't the biggest fan of the game. I didn't get to finish playing the game as much as you have and others have, here in the tavern. So to me, this Ellie Bella has always been my Ellie, anyways. But yeah, she got a lot of hate, and in my opinion, she's been doing great.
Yep.
I again, and as we keep going through the other episodes, you'll start seeing more and more why she's such a great actress, man. Like,
Jesus.
holy,
Yeah.
the
I can't
stuff
wait
that
till
they
we
go
turn to that
through.
episode.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
talking about the same one.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy and incredible. But anyway, so those are my thoughts on this episode.
Yeah.
Um,
So
and go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say I agree with you that I think we pretty much nailed this episode. Solid. We're good.
Whoa. All right. Well, everybody, make sure you pick up your ale cups, please. Put them in. Give them back to Skitty. Stop taking the. I know they're nice pictures. They're expensive, guys. So if you can please give them back, and Alistair, don't worry about your weird little mugs. You can keep them. That's okay.
Hey,
And
Joseph, you over there, don't you dare engrave your initials into that beer stein. I see you. Put that knife down. Put it down. buddy.
as long as they stop drawing, carving penises on it, for God's sakes, guys, come on. There's like already 3 that I've seen that have like little penises on them. Please stop carving penises on them. We're gonna start becoming known as that weird tavern, for God's sake.
Oh god. Yeah, that's not gonna be fun. Sorry, Skitty. I hope you don't mind.
All right, well, guys, we'll pay your tabs. Go ahead. Sorry, what was I gonna say?
No, Silver. I'm the one interrupting you all the time. You do your thing. Go for it. Go.
I'm just trying to tell these losers to pay their tabs so that we can get the heck out of here, man. I've had enough ale, and this guy's ready for a nap.
Okay, and furthermore, if you haven't followed us on our socials yet, tell your friends to follow us. And if you don't like us, tell your haters to follow us. We'll take the attention. We don't mind it. You can
We'll
take them
murder
to our
them.
YouTube
I mean,
channel,
yeah.
to Spotify, to Apple Podcasts. You name it, we got you covered. We're good.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
If not, we'll
Silva
kill
has been
you.
crushing it. And also, we have a TikTok if you haven't kept up on that either, at the TBD Tavern. So please join us. Tell your friends. We hope you enjoy. We hope you continue to enjoy time with us. Thank you so much for following us, and we will see you on the next episode.
Good night.
Good night.